A very good morning. Thanks for clicking on to the 16th edition of the Global Weather and Climate Report. Looking at the 2-minute temperature anomalies for today, it is a warm one across many portions of the planet. We're sitting on 0.3 Celsius above normal globally, 0.7 above normal in the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere just below normal, 1.7 above in the Arctic, 1.3 above in the Antarctic, which is interesting. And the tropics is sitting at 0.2 Celsius above normal here. I say interesting with the Antarctic because, of course, it had been quite cold for quite some time. Looking at the September average, and certainly quite a different look to the temperature profile between August and September. So this is August here. Look at how warm Europe is and how cold central portions of Russia, Mongolia, northern Mongolia, and into the Middle East, even below normal. North America, quite a bit above normal, kind of marginally above normal in Greenland here. Looking back to July, and it was slightly cooler. But notice here the difference in particular between August and then September. Big difference in terms of the temperature across the far north of, well, much of Europe and northern portions of Eurasia here below normal here. And a lot of the reason, I believe, is the fact that we've seen an increase in the tropics. So July, August in particular, neutral to positive North Atlantic oscillation, focus to the heat across the northern land masses, including the oceans of the Pacific and the Atlantic, very, very warm, and essentially there was no tropical activity. Once we started to cool the temperatures and lower the pressure further north, we started to see a complete flip around in the overall setup here. Tropics became more active, and then we started to see tropical activity turn, and you can see the general consensus being development over the central portion of the tropical Atlantic. We've got a few here that developed a lot further north compared to normal. The reason why is, of course, the ocean temperature compared to normal is very, very warm up here, and that also distorts the overall tropical system, if you will. When you've got abnormally warm waters further north, that distorts what goes on in the pressure field across the more typical deep tropical Atlantic, and we've seen that over the Pacific as well. Systems developing, strengthening, and lasting further north than normal because of the overall sea surface temperature anomaly profile here. But certainly we have seen a lot of warmth across Greenland. The reason, I believe, is a combination of the Manchurian oscillation and tropical systems transferring heat out of the tropics and pushing it up towards the pole, warms up Greenland, but in turn cools both the eastern portion of North America with high latitude blocking, and also, of course, Europe, and a very, very big turnaround, as you can see here, between August and September. The month of October is looking like this here, relatively below normal across central portions of Europe, warmer than normal up across Scandinavia. Again, there is a different type of pattern. We've got Fiona headed due north almost, in turn releasing heat up to the north, and also forcing colder air from the pole southwards here. But Ian, different story, moved into North America, connected up with a cold trough over eastern North America that enhanced the jet stream and its extent over the Atlantic, bringing stormier, wetter conditions to the British Isles and northwestern Europe. And we've got a setup at the moment, a strong enough trough to the south, or strong enough high to the south, and a strong enough trough to the north. What that's doing is it's allowing air masses and weather to come in off a warmer than normal Atlantic into the UK and bringing wetter but also warmer than normal temperatures. And I think October, like the month of September, like August, like July, like June, will be warmer than normal until we start to see that somewhat of a shift in the North Atlantic temperature profile, I think we're going to maintain a warmer than normal theme probably through the remainder of autumn. That being said, however, all it takes is for we to start to see high latitude blocking developing. We'll start taking our air masses in from the north. Different story altogether. But if it's a westerly driven pattern, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar it's going to end up being a warmer than normal theme overall. Look at how cold the heart of Asia is. That's quite interesting, actually, isn't it? Very interesting. Look at how warm Canada is. Eastern Canada, eastern north of the United States, very chilly. Of course, this is based on 3 days worth of data, so it looks more extreme at this moment in time. That will start to become a little bit less prominent, some of these colours, whether it be colder or warm, as we press through the remainder of October. But interestingly enough, we've seen a lot of heat continuing over particularly Asia, and that's quite interesting. But before I get to that, this is a tweet by our good friend Marco Patagna of the Met Office. Always produces releases some very interesting information, that's for sure. But it says that for the first 9 months of the year, and this is data going back to 1884, the UK has experienced the warmest opening 9 months to a year since 1884, should I say, sorry. So that's quite interesting, and I know there's going to be a few folk that jump on that in terms of that stat, but this is based on Met Office data at least anyway, and I'm not really overly surprised at that. The run of warmth this year has been incredible for the UK, and there's no reason why the Atlantic wouldn't be as warm as it is based on this. This was a tweet I put out yesterday. Very deep area of low pressure. I think the pressure was at least 957 millibars over Iceland. Very deep area of low pressure. Impressive over that island in the North Atlantic. And of course, a very impressive cold front attached to that system, bringing soaking rainfall across many portions of Scotland, Northern England, parts of Ireland as well. And of course, now we're seeing a system that kind of started to deepen as it moved across the UK. Very mild to the south. Here in Yorkshire, 17 degrees. Up home, 8 degrees. So the frontal system separating cool versus very warm. And I'll get back to David's tweet in just a second here. But certainly the amount of heat that we're seeing over eastern portions of Asia, even Eastern Europe, by the way. This is Maximiliano Herrera's Twitter feed here. Extreme temperatures around the world. Do check that out if you're on Twitter, because just amazing stuff that he releases. But certainly exceptional heat in Eastern Europe, Mediterranean. Turkey just had its hottest October day on record with a temperature of 41.2 Celsius at Antalya. Interesting enough, nearly 40 in Cyprus, just over 39 in Greece, Romania 33, Russia 30.8, and Moldova 29.8 Celsius. So tremendous amounts of heat still around, even though we've seen a turnaround taking place over our region of the world. Of course, we are starting to usher in a little bit fresher, milder air once again. But the amount of heat that's been affected parts of China, the Koreas, Japan, just amazing. Historic day in China. For the first time in recorded history, we've seen a 40 Celsius being reached during the month of October in parts of China here. So the heat is very much still alive, even though we're in the month of October now. You would start to expect to see things cooling down. Of course, there is still plenty of heat around in the northern hemisphere. That, in fact, could be leading to somewhat of part of a contributing factor, I think, to the weakening of the stratospheric polar vortex. Now, I could be wrong about that. It's just a hunch, a thought. But of course, I made mention of the release of heat from the tropics into the high latitudes, possibly weakening the zonal winds at 10 hPa by 30 to 35 miles per hour. Slight warming, but interesting enough, it's coming out of Asia towards the pole. Is it possible that it's the heat over China that's getting lifted into the higher portions of the atmosphere? I don't know. It could be both, or it might not be anything at all. It might just be a completely outside source that is causing this weakening. But it's interesting anyway to see that there is weakening early on of the stratospheric polar vortex. It could be a couple of different contributing factors, or even more than that. This is due to Cohen making mention as well about this kind of warming of the mid to high levels of the atmosphere, and it's certainly interesting to see that here. And that's why I'm saying that I'm being cautious about calling for a warm, wet, late October, possibly November, because that there could throw a spanner in the works. We'll see high latitude blocking, we'll see a negative NAO developing. We've got these intrusions of cold air into Western Europe, and it just throws my ideas out the window. So weather always proves you wrong. At some point you might have a run of good forecasts, good ideas, and then all of a sudden it just, it tells you that you don't know as much as perhaps you think you do. We'll wait and see what happens. But certainly it's very interesting to see what's going on around the world at this moment in time. Like I say, eastern portions of China, very, very hot indeed. We're seeing very cold conditions to start the month of October over Mongolia, parts of Kazakhstan, into Russia as well. Plenty of heat as well to speak about. And we'll wait and see what happens. Certainly the North Atlantic Oscillation, as you can see here, is going towards the positive side of neutral, if you will, and it looks as if we're going to see a free flow of westerly conditions over the next couple of weeks here. This is rainfall, by the way, off the GFS. This is the total accumulated rainfall. So this is total accumulated rainfall over the next, between now, 5th of October through the 20th of October. You can see here, of course, Western Ireland, Northwest England, Western Wales, Southwest England, wettest conditions. In fact, Southwest of England not seeing an awful lot. Driest conditions towards the southeast, as you can see here. If you take the broader look at the pattern, you can see here that we do have, if we play through the loop, you can see where the rain is. It's very clear to see just based on the precipitation charts here that we've got a pretty westerly flow firmly off the Atlantic, and therefore we will continue to see the wettest conditions across particularly the north of the UK, Ireland, and indeed Scandinavia. And we've got higher pressure further south, so quite dry across France, southern portions of England, as you can see here, where high pressure will be the dominant player versus low pressure to the north. And I think we are going to see the continuation of systems coming in off the Atlantic. Some of those could be quite deep. Could start to see the first storms of the season over the next couple of weeks with the dynamics in place. Strong Atlantic jet stream, strong westerly component to that. Warmer than normal Atlantic means warmer than normal temperatures, I think, across the board here. So so that's it for today. Thanks for watching the 16th edition of the Global Weather and Climate Report. I do appreciate it. Please drop a comment, let me know what you think, and I will hopefully be back again tomorrow with more. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I do appreciate your support, and we will continue to look at the pattern. Looking at solar cycle, by the way, I'm going to look at that because we're starting to see an uptick in the solar activity in recent times, more northern light sightings and whatnot, making it quite interesting as well. So I'll look at that in the next few days as well. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.